Your thoughts are shaping your life more than anything else. Most people wake up every day with the same thoughts they had yesterday, and they wonder why nothing changes. They don't realize their thinking is the reason they keep feeling stuck, tired, or unmotivated. This isn't about luck, talent, or timing. It's about the voice in your head, the one you listen to every day. In this audiobook, we're going to be honest. We'll go deep into how your mind works and why you need to take control of it right now. You'll learn how to stop thinking like the person who's stuck and start thinking like the person who's ready for more. You don't have to live by fear or doubt anymore. You just need to change what you keep telling yourself. If you're ready to take back your mind, stay with this, because the way you think is either building your life or slowly breaking it. Chapter 1. Figure out who you are when no one's watching. You become what you think. That's not just a saying, it's a fact of life. If you keep thinking about who you're not, if you keep thinking about what's missing, what's wrong, and what's broken, then slowly, day by day, you start becoming that version of yourself. Your thoughts guide how you see the world, how you see yourself, and how you show up when no one is watching. So the first place to start, the first real step toward change, is to figure out who you really are when no one else is around. Because when you're in front of people, it's easy to look motivated, it's easy to say the right things, do the right things, and look the part. But when the room is quiet, when the spotlight is off, and it's just you and your mind, who are you then? What kind of thoughts are you feeding yourself? What kind of standards do you live by when nobody is there to judge you or praise you? That's where your real life is built. That's where your future is being shaped. You see, success doesn't start with what you do in front of people. It starts with what you say to yourself when no one else is around. It starts with the standards you hold yourself to when there's no pressure, no audience, no one to impress. Your identity isn't what you post online or what people assume about you. It's what you accept about yourself. It's what you allow yourself to think, feel, and believe behind closed doors. And if you don't take time to figure out who you are in those quiet moments, you'll spend your life chasing other people's approval. You'll become a version of yourself that is based on pleasing others, avoiding pain, and pretending to have it all figured out. But deep down, you'll always feel like something's missing. So how do you figure out who you are? You start by paying attention to how you feel when you're alone. Not distracted, not scrolling, not watching something, just you. Pay attention to the thoughts that come up. Are they kind? Are they honest? Or are they filled with shame, guilt, self-doubt, and confusion? You don't need to judge them. You need to notice them. Because those thoughts are shaping how you live. If you constantly think you're not enough, you'll act like someone who needs to prove themselves all the time. If you believe you're behind in life, you'll rush through every day, missing the value of where you are. But if you start thinking like someone who deserves peace, growth, and purpose, your actions will follow that, and those actions build your future. Ask yourself some hard questions. When no one's watching, do I keep my promises to myself? Do I still do the work I said I'd do? Do I live with integrity? Do I treat myself with respect? Because those little choices, the ones no one claps for, are the ones that build your confidence and your character. And here's something most people miss. Your private life is your real life. What you practice when no one is watching shows up when everyone is. If you cut corners in silence, you'll lack confidence in public. If you lie to yourself behind the scenes, you'll always feel uncertain in front of others. But if you practice discipline, honesty, and growth when it's just you and your thoughts, then you'll walk into any room with calm, with power, with clarity. Some people spend their whole lives chasing a version of themselves that was never true to begin with. They try to look strong instead of becoming strong. They try to be admired instead of being fulfilled. And it never works, because you can only lie to yourself for so long. Sooner or later, the real you shows up, and if you've been hiding from that truth, it will be uncomfortable. It will feel like you don't belong in your own life. But you can change that right now, not by pretending, not by pushing harder to impress others, but by getting real with yourself. Sit with your thoughts. Face the truth of how you think. Ask yourself who you are becoming, and if that person is someone you respect. And if the answer is no, you don't need shame. You need a plan. You need to start changing your thoughts, one at a time. You need to take ownership of the voice in your mind and make sure it's pushing you forward, not holding you back. You don't need permission to do this. You don't need a perfect day. You don't need to wait until Monday or the 1st of the month. You need to start now. Because your life doesn't change by accident. It changes when you start showing up for yourself with full honesty, especially when no one is watching. You need to become someone who believes in themselves before the world ever sees it. You need to speak to yourself with strength even when you feel tired. You need to stop living for outside applause and start building your inner approval. That's the shift. That's where self-respect begins. Not in words, but in actions. Not in results, but in effort. Not in praise, but in private victories. So take some time today. Sit alone, no noise, no distraction, and ask yourself, who am I when I'm not performing? Who am I when I'm not posting? Who am I when it's just me in the mirror? And if the answer feels unclear, don't panic. That's a sign you're ready to grow. That's a sign you're ready to finally meet the person you've been avoiding, the real you. And when you meet that person, treat them with respect. Help them grow. Give them structure. Give them patience. And most of all, give them the mindset that says, I will not waste this life by thinking small. Because every thought matters. Every belief creates behavior. Every quiet decision builds who you become. And that's the truth. You become what you think. Not in theory, in reality. So take full control of your thoughts, because they're building your life, one quiet moment at a time. Chapter 2. Stop letting negative thoughts control your actions. Every person has thoughts that show up uninvited. Some of them are helpful, others are harmful. But the truth is, most people don't even notice what's happening in their mind until it's already shaped their day. A single negative thought, if you don't catch it early, can affect the way you speak, the way you act, and even the way you carry yourself. And if you allow those negative thoughts to lead the way, they will take over your choices without asking for permission. Before you know it, you start pulling back from goals, doubting your worth, avoiding effort, or repeating patterns that keep you stuck in the same place. You don't have to fix every negative thought. That's not the goal. The goal is to stop letting those thoughts control your actions. That's where real power lives. Not in getting rid of all negativity, but in refusing to follow where it leads. You wake up one morning and the first thing your mind tells you is, you're behind. That thought feels true, so you start rushing through your day with stress, guilt, and anxiety. You forget what matters most. You try to do more instead of doing what's important. That one thought controlled your actions. Or maybe you're about to try something new, something that could help you grow, but your mind whispers, what if you fail? That voice sounds real, so you stop. You overthink. You wait. And now the opportunity is gone. That thought didn't just sit there. It drove your behavior. You must begin to separate your thoughts from your choices. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean you need to act on it. Your brain is like a machine. It throws out ideas all day long, but you are the one who decides which ones to follow. And if you start following negative thoughts by default, your life becomes a reflection of those thoughts, not your true potential. Take a close look at the kind of thoughts that tend to guide your behavior. Do you often feel like you're not good enough? Like nothing you do is working? Do you assume people are judging you or waiting for you to fail? Those beliefs may have formed years ago, but if you don't question them, they'll quietly run your life. There's a moment every day where a thought enters your mind, and right after that you choose a direction. That moment is where your power lives. Not after you've already reacted, not after you've spiraled. The power is in catching the thought right when it arrives and asking, is this useful? Is this helping me move forward? Or is it holding me back? Most people never ask those questions. They just feel something and they respond. They think something negative and they believe it. But your mind needs direction. It's not built to lead your life without input. If you don't give it a standard, it will create one from fear, from past pain, from what other people told you. You have to train yourself to pause, to feel a thought show up and decide, am I going to act from this, or am I going to choose better? It's uncomfortable at first. You won't always get it right, but that pause, that space between thought and action, is where change begins. Think about how many moments in your past were shaped by negative thinking. Think about the job you didn't go for because you believed you weren't ready, the conversation you avoided because you assumed it wouldn't go well, the idea you didn't try because your mind said it probably wouldn't work. None of those were facts, they were thoughts. But they still shaped your actions, and your actions shaped your outcome. So what would your life look like if you stopped letting those thoughts lead you? What if you felt the fear but did the thing anyway? What if you noticed the doubt but made the call? What if you heard the voice that said, you're not good enough, and responded with action that said, I'm showing up anyway? This is not about ignoring how you feel. It's about refusing to give those feelings the steering wheel. It's about refusing to let one bad thought ruin a good day. It's about not handing your future to fear and calling it caution. The reason most people stay stuck isn't because they're lazy or broken. It's because they think their thoughts are always true. But your thoughts are not facts. They are patterns. And the more often you think a certain way, the more automatic it becomes. That's how the mind works. If you always give in to self-doubt, it becomes your normal. If you always hesitate, that hesitation becomes who you are. You can break those patterns, but it takes work. It takes self-awareness. You need to stop during the day and ask, where is this thought taking me? And if it's leading you away from your goals, you stop. You choose better, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it's new. Every time you act against a negative thought, you weaken its control. You don't erase it. You just stop giving it power. That's how you build strength. Not by pretending everything is positive, but by refusing to surrender to what's negative. You also need to protect what you feed your mind. The news you watch, the people you listen to, the content you scroll through, it all builds your thinking. If your mind is constantly filled with fear, doubt, and comparison, your thoughts will reflect that, and so will your actions. Be intentional with what you allow in. Make it your job to create a mental environment that supports your future. You cannot afford to live your life on autopilot, hoping you'll stay strong while surrounding yourself with things that make you feel weak. Look around you. What do your daily actions say about your thoughts? Are you holding back? Are you shrinking? Are you avoiding effort because you believe it won't matter? Those behaviors didn't come out of nowhere. They started in your mind. But here's the good news. Just like negative thoughts created those patterns, Positive thoughts can create new ones. Thoughts like, I can figure this out. I don't have to be perfect to take action. Even small steps matter. When those become the thoughts you follow, your behavior begins to shift. You start showing up differently, you start taking ownership, and slowly your life begins to move in a new direction. You're not your past, you're not your fear, you're not the voice in your head that says, stop trying. You are the one who chooses what to believe. You are the one who chooses what to act on. The transformation begins when you stop letting your mind lead without question. When you feel the old thoughts rise and you say, not this time, I'm not following that path anymore. You may not feel strong at first, but each time you act in spite of the negative, you take back control. You reclaim your future. This is not motivation. This is discipline. This is awareness. This is what real change looks like. It's messy, it's quiet, it's 1,000 decisions made in private that nobody claps for, but over time those choices build confidence, they build identity, they build the life you actually want. So next time your mind tells you to hold back, don't. Next time it tells you you're not ready, do it anyway. Next time you feel small, stand tall. Not because the thought disappears, but because you choose to act in alignment with your future, not your fear. That's the difference between staying stuck and stepping forward. And that difference lives inside your own mind. You don't need more time. You don't need more approval. You need to stop letting the wrong thoughts lead your life. Because when you take control of your thinking, you take control of your future. Chapter 3. Watch your thinking, because it shapes your habits. Everything you do each day is connected to how you think. The way you start your morning, the way you speak to yourself, the way you respond to stress. None of it is random. Your habits are shaped by the thoughts that repeat in your mind. That's why it's not enough to change your actions without paying attention to what's going on inside your head. If your thinking doesn't change, your habits won't last. You might force yourself to act differently for a few days, but if the same thoughts keep running the show, you'll fall back into the same patterns. Most people try to fix their life by focusing only on behavior. They want to wake up earlier, work harder, be more disciplined, but they never stop to examine the thoughts that are driving those behaviors. What do you tell yourself right before you quit something? What goes through your mind before you skip a task or avoid a challenge? That's where your real habit starts. Not in the action, but in the thought that comes right before it. If your thinking is filled with excuses, avoidance, or fear, your habits will reflect that. You'll start and stop, you'll do things halfway, you'll live by reaction instead of direction, and no matter how badly you say you want to grow, your actions will stay stuck in a cycle that's built on weak thinking. But when you start watching your thinking, really paying attention to what plays on repeat in your mind, you begin to see the connection between your thoughts and your behavior. You begin to notice the moment your energy shifts, the moment you decide to avoid something hard, the moment you talk yourself out of showing up fully. And when you can catch those thoughts early, you give yourself the chance to interrupt the pattern. That's where power lives, in that space between thought and behavior. That's where you get to choose. That's where change becomes possible. You might have the habit of sleeping late, of skipping your priorities, of waiting until the last minute. Those are not just bad habits. They're the result of a certain mindset. Maybe you think time doesn't matter. Maybe you believe it's too late to change. Maybe you tell yourself, this is just the way I am. And because you think that way, you act that way. And because you act that way, you stay in the same place. You can't build a strong life on weak thoughts. You can't build discipline with a mind that makes excuses. You can't stay consistent if you think everything has to be perfect first. So it starts by becoming aware of what's playing in your head every single day. Not once in a while, not only when things go wrong, but all the time. Start asking yourself real questions. What thoughts do I wake up with? Are they helping me move forward or keeping me stuck? When I make a decision, what beliefs are behind it? Am I acting from confidence or fear? Am I thinking like someone who wants to grow or someone who wants to stay comfortable? You have to get honest, not harsh, just honest, because you can't fix what you don't face. And if you're not aware of the thoughts guiding your actions, you'll keep blaming your habits without ever solving the cause. Watch what happens when you start shifting your thinking. Instead of telling yourself, this is too hard, say, this is building me. Instead of, I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow, say, I'll feel worse if I avoid it. These small mental shifts lead to new habits, and those new habits build a new life. Your thoughts create your emotional state, and your emotions drive your choices. If you keep thinking you're behind, you'll live in stress. If you keep thinking you're not enough, you'll avoid effort. But if you start thinking like someone with purpose, someone who is capable of change, your emotions shift. You begin to feel calm, focused, and ready to act. Every strong habit begins with a strong thought. And strong thoughts don't show up by accident. They're created, they're repeated, they're practiced. You have to choose them over and over again until they become natural, until they become your new normal. Habits are not just about what you do. They're about who you believe you are. If you believe you're the kind of person who always falls off track, you'll prove yourself right. If you believe you're lazy, you'll act that way, even if you want to change. But when you shift your thinking to match your goals, everything starts to align. You act differently because you think differently. It's not about faking confidence. It's about building it through clarity. It's about saying, this thought is not helping me. I'm choosing a better one. It's not about positive thinking for the sake of feeling good. It's about thinking in a way that supports the habits you want to create. You don't need to overhaul your whole life in one day. You just need to start noticing your thoughts and choosing ones that lead to better action, one thought at a time, one choice at a time. Watch your patterns. Notice when you give up. Notice when you procrastinate. Ask yourself, what thought came right before that? That's the pattern to break, not just the action, but the thinking that allowed it. The real battle is not in the task, it's in the thoughts that surround it. The task is simple. The gym is just a place. The book is just a thing to open. The work is just sitting there waiting. What makes it hard is what you think about it. And when you take control of that thinking, you take control of the behavior. Most people try to fight their habits by pushing harder, but pushing harder won't work if you're still thinking the same way. You'll just burn out, you'll feel frustrated, you'll go in circles. The better strategy is to build new thoughts, thoughts that align with discipline, thoughts that support your energy, thoughts that remind you of why you started. You also have to stop thinking of habits as temporary fixes. They're not. They're the foundation of your life. The small things you do daily are shaping who you become. If your thinking is careless, your habits will be too. If your thinking is sharp, focused and aligned, your habits will follow. So take your mind seriously. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Take notes. Learn your own patterns, and stop ignoring the voice that says, this doesn't matter. Because it does. Every little habit matters. Every repeated action shapes your future. And it all starts with what's going on in your head. There's nothing wrong with you if you've built some bad habits. Everyone has. But you must understand this. The first change happens inside. You can't skip this part. You have to rebuild your thinking. You have to challenge what's been running on autopilot. And you have to do it consistently. You'll feel resistance. That's normal. Your mind wants to go back to what's easy, but you're not here for easy. You're here to grow. You're here to become better. And that starts by watching your thinking like your life depends on it, because it does. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be aware. That's the beginning. Awareness gives you the power to pause, to question, and to choose better. And with each better choice, you build better habits. And with better habits, you build a better life. It all starts in your mind. Watch it closely, feed it wisely, and guard it daily. That's how transformation begins. Chapter 4. Respect your mind because it builds your whole life. Your mind is the center of your decisions, your habits, your reactions, your beliefs, your future. Everything you create, everything you fix, everything you break. It all begins with how you think. And that's why you must respect your mind. Not just when things go wrong, not only when you feel lost or stuck. You need to respect it daily, because your mind is building the life you live, whether you're paying attention to it or not. Most people go through life treating their mind like it's just a background machine, something that runs while they focus on the outside world. But the truth is, what happens outside is a reflection of what's happening inside. If you don't take your mind seriously, you leave your life to chance. You allow old stories, toxic beliefs, emotional reactions, and past disappointments to shape what happens next. And then you wonder why progress feels so hard, why your goals keep slipping, why you stay in the same emotional cycles. It's because you never stopped to build respect for the thing running the show, your own mind. When you respect your body, you feed it better. You move it, you rest it, you don't punish it. And when you respect your mind, you do the same. You feed it the right thoughts. You challenge the bad ones. You give it direction. You protect it from noise. That kind of discipline builds mental strength. And mental strength gives you clarity when things feel messy. It helps you make decisions when emotions try to take over. Helps you keep going when motivation disappears. But if you never respect your mind, you leave yourself open to anything and everything that tries to influence you. Social media, negativity, gossip, distractions. You lose your power by simply not using it. There's no success in life without mental leadership. No relationship works if your mind is filled with fear and insecurity. No goal becomes real if your thoughts are full of doubt and self-sabotage. You can't stay focused if your mind is constantly busy with comparison. You can't grow if you keep telling yourself stories about why you can't. So the question is simple. How are you treating your mind? What are you allowing in? What do you allow to repeat every day? Some people put more thought into their phone background than they do into the thoughts they repeat every morning. They organize their schedule but never take a moment to organize their thinking. They track what they eat but never track what they consume mentally. That's a mistake, because the condition of your mind is what shapes how you experience everything else. If your mind is calm and focused, you see options clearly. If it's cluttered and restless, even simple problems feel overwhelming. This is not about becoming a perfect thinker. It's about becoming a responsible one. It's about making sure your thoughts are not leading you away from who you want to become. Because if you don't build the kind of mind that supports your growth, you'll keep working hard and making progress, only to sabotage yourself later. You'll push forward all day and talk yourself out of it at night. You'll build something good, then tear it down with fear and confusion. And it's not because you're lazy or broken. It's because you never built the habit of respecting your thoughts. Respecting your mind means listening to what it's telling you, not following everything but listening, noticing patterns, noticing when your thoughts turn negative, when your mood shifts, when your attitude changes. It means slowing down long enough to ask, where did that thought come from? Is it helping me or hurting me? Because once you see it clearly, you can work with it. You can challenge it. You can decide not to act from it. You can replace it. Your mind needs your leadership. It needs your attention. It needs structure. It needs peace. It needs goals. If you let it run on its own, it will default to what's familiar, even if familiar means anxious, angry, scattered, or overwhelmed. But if you take the lead, you teach it how to focus. You train it to find meaning. You give it the input that builds confidence. You can't control every thought that shows up, but you can control which ones stay. You can't stop the first wave of self-doubt or fear, but you can stop yourself from feeding it all day. That's respect. It's not perfection, it's protection. Protecting your mind from falling into the same holes you used to crawl out of. Protecting your mental energy from being drained by things that don't deserve your attention. When you start respecting your mind, you stop treating it like an enemy. You stop criticizing it for being tired or anxious or unmotivated. Instead, you start treating it with care. You recognize that your thoughts are not fixed. They're not your identity. They are patterns, and all patterns can be changed. But they won't change unless you take them seriously. Unless you treat your mental life like it matters. You also start speaking differently to yourself and about yourself. You stop calling yourself names in your head. You stop repeating phrases like, I'm terrible at this, or I always mess up. You begin to speak with clarity and strength, not fake positivity, but real awareness. You say things like, I'm working on this. I'm learning how to get better. I'm staying focused even when it's hard. That's respect. Respect for your ability to grow. Respect for the process you're in. Respect for the person you're becoming. The more you respect your mind, the more you stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop wasting time trying to impress people. You stop basing your value on numbers or titles or approval. You start building from the inside. You start cleaning up your self-talk. You begin making better decisions not just because someone said so, but because your mind has become a place where those decisions feel natural. Your daily life is the result of the thoughts you protect. So if you're tired of always starting over, if you're tired of getting close to progress and losing it, ask yourself if the issue is really your effort or if it's the condition of your thinking. Ask if you're holding yourself back by ignoring the role your mind plays in everything you do. Because no plan, no system, no shortcut can save you from a mind you haven't learned to lead. You respect your mind by giving it what it needs. Peace, direction, focus, purpose. You respect your mind by refusing to entertain thoughts that drain you. You respect it by not repeating stories from your past that don't match where you're going. You respect it by deciding every single day that how you think is just as important as what you do. If you treat your mind well, it will start to work with you, not against you. It will help you stay centered when life feels messy. It will help you take action even when fear shows up. It will help you stay calm when pressure builds. And that kind of mindset, that kind of inner strength, that's how you build a life that lasts. That's how you become someone who doesn't just talk about change, but lives it every single day.
Chapter 5. Think on purpose, not by habit or fear. Most people are thinking without knowing it. They're reacting, repeating, and recycling old thoughts all day long. And most of those thoughts aren't chosen. They're automatic. They've been running for years. Thoughts formed in childhood, in failure, in fear, in stress.
And if you're not aware of it, you begin to think the same way every day, without question. That's the danger. Living by thoughts that were never examined. Living by thoughts that were shaped by past pain, not present truth. Living by thoughts that lead to hesitation, not growth. That's what happens when you think by habit instead of thinking on purpose. Thinking on purpose means you stop letting the mind do whatever it wants. It means you decide what kind of thoughts belong in your life and what kind don't. It means you're not letting fear drive the wheel anymore. You're not letting comfort pick your future. You're not making choices based on what feels familiar. You're making them based on where you want to go. Fear is always looking for shortcuts. It's always telling you to play it safe. It pushes you to overthink, delay, distract, and shrink. But when you think with intention, you start asking better questions. You stop asking what if this goes wrong, and you start asking what do I need to do right now that moves me forward. You stop living in mental loops, and you start creating new direction. If you're not careful, fear will disguise itself as logic. It'll say, you're not ready. It'll say, wait until things settle down. It'll say, this probably won't work, so why try? These thoughts sound reasonable, but they're not based on truth. They're based on a habit of avoiding risk, and if you don't interrupt that habit, your life starts to shrink. You stop reaching, you stop learning, you stop showing up with full energy. Purposeful thinking starts with responsibility. It starts with deciding that your mind is your job, that you don't have to believe everything you think, that you can slow down and choose thoughts that push you in the right direction. That's a daily decision, not a one-time shift. You have to build it, every morning, every hour, every time your old mindset tries to come back. Most people want to change their life, but they keep thinking the same way that created the problem. You can't grow with the same thinking that keeps you small. You can't create peace with thoughts filled with worry. You can't lead your day with focus if your thoughts are always jumping to the worst-case scenario. You have to think better if you want to live better. There's a moment in every day where your thinking starts to drift. Maybe you start doubting your work. Maybe you begin comparing your life to someone else's. Maybe your mind brings up something that went wrong last year, and if you don't catch that moment, the whole day can go sideways. Not because anything on the outside changed, but because your thoughts did. That's why it's not optional to think with purpose. It's necessary. It's what keeps you grounded when pressure builds. It's what keeps you honest when fear starts lying to you. You have to become the kind of person who doesn't allow every thought to stay. Some thoughts come to steal your confidence. Some show up to break your rhythm. Some are just noise, trying to distract you from what matters. Thinking on purpose means you know how to separate what's useful from what's harmful. You know when to sit with a thought and when to move on. You know when to challenge a belief and when to trust your values. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about being responsible. It's about thinking in a way that supports your growth, that brings clarity, that builds momentum, that allows you to take action instead of freezing in place. When you think by habit, you wake up and go into reaction mode. You pick up your phone, you check what other people are doing, you let your environment shape your thoughts, you let headlines shape your emotions, you let old patterns decide what kind of day you're going to have. But when you think with purpose, you take the lead. You decide what matters today. You decide what thoughts deserve your attention. You decide how you want to show up, even when things feel uncertain. Start each day by asking yourself, what kind of thoughts do I want to lead my life today? And be honest, do you want to be led by doubt, by jealousy, by impatience, or do you want to be led by courage, by clarity, by strength? Because whichever thoughts you choose will guide your words, your habits, your choices, and eventually your results. You have to watch your mental energy the same way you watch your time and your money. Don't waste it on things that don't give you anything back. Don't give your attention to thoughts that take you off track. Don't give your energy to ideas that drain your focus. Your thinking is a resource. Protect it, invest it, guard it. It also means you stop blaming your thinking on your past. You are not trapped by the thoughts that used to run your life. You are not limited by what you believed 5 years ago. You are not stuck in the patterns you learned from others. You can build new thinking. You can choose new thoughts. You can think like someone who's ready for more, even if you're still figuring things out. Thinking on purpose will make you uncomfortable because it forces you to stop hiding behind distraction.
It forces you to be honest about how long you've been avoiding action. It forces you to stop waiting for the perfect moment and to start making one. But that's what makes it powerful. It brings you face to face with who you really are, not the version you pretend to be, not the version that plays it safe, the version that wants to grow, that wants to lead, that wants to live with real meaning. You don't need to fix everything at once. Just start noticing how you think. Start asking if that thought is useful. Start choosing thoughts that match the person you want to become, not the person who stays in fear, not the person who waits until it feels easy, but the person who leads with intention, even when it's hard. Change happens when you stop thinking on autopilot. It happens when you stop assuming that whatever comes to mind must be true. It happens when you step in and say, I will decide what kind of thoughts guide my day. That's how you shift. That's how you gain control. That's how you move from reaction to leadership. Thinking on purpose is not about feeling good. It's about building something strong. It's about knowing why you think what you think. It's about becoming clear, consistent, and focused. It's about giving your mind direction instead of waiting for life to do it for you. And when you do that, you begin to see the difference. You stop chasing. You stop overthinking. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't move you forward. You start building habits that stick. You start facing problems with strength. You start creating a life that feels real and meaningful. It all begins in your thinking. But only if you take it seriously, only if you stop living by accident and start thinking with purpose. That's how you stop running in circles. That's how you stop settling. That's how you build a mind that works for you, not against you. Because once you do that, everything else starts to change. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally took charge of the way you think.
Chapter 6. Remove thoughts that make you doubt your worth. There are thoughts you've been carrying that were never yours to hold. Thoughts that came from rejection, failure, criticism, or fear. Thoughts that grew louder over time because no one ever taught you how to challenge them. You kept hearing them in your own mind, so they started to feel true, but they're not. They're old noise. And if you don't learn to remove those thoughts, they'll keep shaping how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, and what you believe you're capable of. When you doubt your worth, you start playing small. You hesitate, you overthink, you apologize for who you are. You settle for less because something in you believes that's all you deserve. But that belief didn't come from your potential. It came from the thoughts you've allowed to stay too long. You weren't born thinking you weren't enough. That belief was formed, and anything that's formed can be changed. Start paying attention to what you repeat to yourself when things get hard. Do you tell yourself you're failing? Do you say you always mess things up? Do you assume you're not good enough, not talented enough, not smart enough? If you keep repeating those messages, they'll become the background music of your life, and that music influences everything. Your confidence, your effort, your relationships, your goals. The mind doesn't know the difference between a true statement and a repeated one. So if you keep telling yourself you're not valuable, eventually your mind believes it. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar. That's why you have to remove those thoughts, not just ignore them. Ignoring them allows them to come back later. Removing them means facing them, questioning them, and replacing them with something stronger. You can't live with peace while entertaining thoughts that break you down. You can't build a meaningful life while thinking you don't deserve one. You can't move forward while holding on to mental patterns that keep pulling you back. So take a moment and ask yourself, where did these thoughts come from? Who taught you to believe you weren't enough? What moment made you think your voice didn't matter? What failure convinced you that you didn't have what it takes? These thoughts didn't appear on their own. They were shaped by experience, by pain, by the words of others. But just because they were shaped by the past doesn't mean they get to shape your future. You get to choose what stays. You get to decide which thoughts get your energy. You get to clear out the ones that make you shrink, that make you feel small, that make you question your value. It's not about pretending to feel confident. It's about building a mind that supports you. That means refusing to repeat lies, no matter how normal they feel. That means noticing when your self-talk turns into self-sabotage. That means stepping in when your thoughts are pulling you away from who you really are. You've got to be clear with yourself. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not less than. Those are thoughts, not facts. And if you're not actively clearing them out, they'll sit there quietly and shape your entire life.
Watch how these thoughts show up when you try something new. They'll tell you you're not ready. They'll tell you you're not qualified. They'll tell you people will judge you. And if you believe them, you'll step back. Not because you couldn't do it, but because your mind convinced you that you couldn't. That's the trap. But when you start removing those thoughts, something shifts. You begin to act without needing approval. You begin to speak with confidence, because you know your worth doesn't depend on the outcome. You begin to take action without carrying the weight of constant self-doubt. And that's what changes your path. Not just what you do, but what you believe while doing it. You have to be intentional about what you allow your mind to keep. Thoughts that tell you you're not enough don't belong. Thoughts that remind you of your worst days have no place in your future. Thoughts that make you feel ashamed of who you are have to go. This is your responsibility. No one can clean your mind for you. No one can remove those thoughts but you. The longer you allow these doubts to sit inside your head, the more power they take. You'll start filtering every experience through them. Someone gives you a compliment, you'll reject it. You do something well, you'll downplay it. You make progress, you'll convince yourself it's not enough. And none of that is based on truth. It's based on old thoughts running without limits. So start catching them in real time. When your mind says, you're not good at this, respond with truth. I'm learning and I'm growing. When it says you always fail, say that's not who I am anymore. When it says people won't accept you, remind yourself, I accept me, and that's what matters. This isn't about fake positivity. It's about giving your mind better material to work with. Your mind is always listening. It listens when you speak kindly to yourself. It listens when you speak with doubt, and it starts to mirror whatever tone you repeat the most. So if all it hears is criticism, that's the tone it uses in return. But if it hears strength, honesty, direction, it learns to think in alignment with who you're becoming. It also means being careful about where your thoughts are coming from. What are you watching? Who are you listening to? What messages are you allowing into your space? Every influence shapes your thinking. If you surround yourself with voices that tear you down or make you feel less than, your thoughts will begin to match that tone. That's why you have to create an environment that supports your mental clarity, not confusion. And remember, removing thoughts is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. Some thoughts have been with you for years. They've been repeated so often that they feel like part of who you are, but they're not. They're just habits of thinking, and habits can be changed. You remove them by not feeding them, by not agreeing with them, by not building your day around them. Over time, you start to hear them less. You start to feel lighter. You begin to make decisions from a place of strength, not fear. You begin to speak with direction, not hesitation. You begin to feel like yourself again, not the version your thoughts tried to shrink, but the real version that's been buried underneath all the doubt. This is the work. Not chasing external results, not trying to look successful, but clearing out everything in your mind that doesn't support your growth. This is how confidence is built, not from achievement alone, but from the ability to stand strong against the thoughts that once tried to break you. You don't need permission to do this. You don't need to wait until things feel easier. You don't need a perfect mindset to begin. You just need to stop agreeing with thoughts that make you feel unworthy. You just need to start acting in alignment with your truth, even when those old thoughts show up again. That's how you win, not by being perfect, but by not giving up on yourself every time doubt returns. Your worth is not up for debate. It's not something you earn, it's something you own. And if your thoughts have convinced you otherwise, then it's time to remove them, one by one, day by day. Your future depends on it, and so does your peace. Chapter 7. Pay close attention to how you speak inside. Most people spend their lives listening to their own voice without ever questioning what it's saying. Inside your mind, there's a conversation happening every day. It's quiet, it's personal, and it never stops. That voice can push you forward, or it can hold you back. It can build confidence, or it can create insecurity. And whether you realize it or not, the way you speak to yourself has shaped who you've become. If you're not aware of that voice, if you're not paying attention to what you're telling yourself, you're letting your life be directed by something you've never taken control of. Self-talk isn't just background noise, it's the filter you see everything through. It changes how you feel about challenges. It shapes how you respond to pressure. It decides whether you act with courage or hesitation. That voice in your head influences what you expect, what you tolerate, and what you believe you can do. And the truth is, most people are speaking to themselves in a way they would never speak to anyone else. Think about that for a moment. Would you say to a close friend, "You're not good enough"? Would you tell someone you love you always fail, or you're wasting your time, or nobody cares about what you're doing? Of course not. But many people say those things to themselves every day, and they don't even notice it. The words are so familiar, so automatic, they slip by without question. And that's the problem. You have to pay close attention to how you speak inside, because your mind is listening. It's not just hearing the words, it's using those words to build your emotional state. If your self-talk is full of pressure, judgment, guilt or fear, you will feel overwhelmed, even if nothing around you is going wrong. And when that feeling shows up, your actions follow it. You hesitate, you overthink, you pull back, not because you can't succeed, but because your internal voice keeps telling you not to try. Changing this starts with awareness. Start listening. Pay attention to your tone. Do you speak with patience or with pressure? Are you encouraging or critical? Do you speak to yourself with the same care and respect you give others? You can't keep tearing yourself down and expect to build a strong life. You can't keep feeding your mind negativity and expect to feel strong when it counts. You need to take responsibility for your internal language. That means you have to stop letting your thoughts run on autopilot. You can't just let anything go unchecked. If a negative thought shows up, question it. Ask where it came from. Ask if it's helpful. Ask if it reflects who you want to be. That moment of awareness, that's where the shift happens. That's where you move from passive thinking to purposeful thinking. Self-talk is not about fake positivity. It's not about lying to yourself or pretending things are great when they're not. It's about being honest without being harsh. It's about giving yourself truth with strength, not shame. It's about speaking in a way that holds you accountable while still keeping you encouraged. That balance is where growth lives. When you pay attention to how you speak inside, you begin to catch the patterns. You notice when your thoughts become negative before anything even goes wrong. You realize that most of your fear didn't come from reality, it came from your own voice repeating the worst possibilities. You notice that your frustration isn't always caused by others. It's often the result of the pressure you put on yourself through your inner dialogue. And when you become aware of that, you gain control. You begin to choose better words. You start replacing "I can't do this" with "I'm going to figure this out." You change "this is too much" to "I'll handle what I can right now." You shift from "I always mess things up" to "I'm learning and I'm still in the process." These shifts might seem small, but they create massive changes in your mindset and your behavior. The way you speak inside shapes how much peace you carry. It shapes how much focus you bring to your day. It changes how you treat setbacks. If your internal voice always sounds like an enemy, you'll walk through life feeling like you're constantly under attack, even if nobody is saying anything to you. But if your internal voice sounds like a leader, like a coach, like someone who wants the best for you, then you'll walk with clarity. You'll make decisions from a strong place. You'll face problems with confidence because you've trained your mind to support you, not sabotage you. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. You're retraining a voice that's been running on old patterns for years. You'll slip up sometimes. That's okay. What matters is that you keep paying attention, you keep adjusting, you keep choosing better words, better tone, better focus. You take full responsibility for your inner space. You guard it, you build it, you speak with intention, not by habit. And the more you do that, the more you'll notice a shift, not just in how you think, but in how you act. Because when your internal voice becomes stronger, your choices become clearer. When your self-talk supports you, your effort increases. When your inner words match your values, your energy aligns with your purpose. This is how you begin to trust yourself, not just by achieving results, but by speaking to yourself in a way that earns your own respect. When your thoughts stop attacking you, your mind becomes a place where focus and courage can grow. When your internal voice becomes your teammate instead of your critic, you stop fighting against yourself. And that changes everything. You'll notice it in how you show up for your work. You'll notice it in how you set boundaries. You'll notice it in the way you handle uncertainty. Because when your mind is calm, clear and supportive, you stop wasting energy on inner conflict. You stop draining yourself with doubt. You begin to act from purpose instead of reacting from emotion. So start now. Don't wait until things fall apart. Don't wait until you're at a breaking point. Begin now by listening to the tone you use when speaking to yourself. Begin now by changing one sentence at a time. Replace criticism with clarity. Replace shame with strength. Replace fear with focus. You are the one who controls the voice in your head. That voice is shaping your future. even when no one else hears it. Make sure it's a voice that pushes you to grow, not one that convinces you to quit. Make sure it speaks with direction, not confusion. Make sure it sounds like someone who believes in your future, because your future depends on the voice you build today.
Chapter 8. Give your energy only to useful thinking. Your energy is one of the most valuable things you have. Where you give it, what you focus it on, what you let it feed, those are the decisions that shape your day, your behavior, your habits, and eventually your whole life. Most people never stop to think about how much energy they're wasting on thoughts that do nothing for them, thoughts that go nowhere, thoughts that just spin in circles and make them feel tired, distracted, angry, or unsure. And yet, those same people wonder why they feel drained, unmotivated, or lost. The answer isn't in what they're doing, it's in what they're thinking about all day long. Every thought takes energy to process. The problem is that most people don't filter what deserves that energy. They treat every thought like it's worth something. They engage with every worry. They overthink every decision. They carry every opinion, every criticism, every memory from years ago, and by the time the day ends, they've spent all their mental energy on things that did not move them forward, things that didn't help them grow, things that didn't solve anything. They were just habits of the mind, familiar, loud, and pointless. You have to learn to separate what's useful from what's not. And it starts by asking one simple question: is this thought helping me right now? Not is it true? Not is it dramatic? Not does it feel important? Just is this helping me right now? Because if it's not, then it's not worth your attention. It doesn't matter how emotional it feels. It doesn't matter how loud it gets. If it's not helping you, it's costing you. There are thoughts that help you focus, thoughts that bring clarity, thoughts that guide decisions. These are useful, you need those, but there are also thoughts that pull you into self-doubt, thoughts that create tension for no reason, thoughts that bring up problems without offering solutions. Those are distractions, and if you keep feeding them, you're stealing energy from what matters. This isn't about ignoring what's hard. It's not about avoiding your feelings. It's about being disciplined with your attention, because your attention decides what grows. You give attention to problems, they grow. You give attention to solutions, those grow. You give attention to problems, they grow. You give attention to solutions, those grow. You give attention to what you can't control, you feel stuck. You give attention to what you can do, you feel momentum. Some people don't even realize how much of their energy is being drained by invisible thinking. They think they're tired because of work. They think they're burned out because of their schedule. But when you look closely, you see that most of the exhaustion is coming from constant mental noise, useless overthinking, imaginary conversations, worrying about what people might say, judging every move, reliving old situations. These thoughts feel urgent, but they have no value. They're just taking up space. You need to build the habit of letting things go when they don't serve you. That means walking away from thoughts that keep you stuck. That means not explaining yourself to your mind over and over. That means refusing to engage with stories that bring no progress. It doesn't make you careless, it makes you focused. Useful thinking has direction. It points somewhere. It leads to action, or clarity, or understanding. If your thoughts just sit there and stir up stress or guilt or regret without offering anything you can act on, they are not useful. They are noise, and noise has a cost. It keeps you distracted from what really matters. It makes you doubt what you already know. It steals time from the tasks that move your life forward. If you don't manage your thoughts will manage you. And if your thoughts are unmanaged, your energy will be scattered, and scattered energy never builds anything worthwhile. Useful thinking also helps you stay present. When your thoughts are aligned with what matters, you stop wasting time mentally living in the past or the future. You stop analyzing what you can't fix. You stop preparing for things that may never happen. You stop obsessing over how things should have gone. Instead, you focus on what's in front of you, what you can control, what needs your full attention right now. This isn't easy. Most of your useless thoughts have become habits. You've repeated them for so long that they feel normal. Worrying might feel responsible. Overthinking might feel safe. But these are just illusions. If a thought isn't helping you live with purpose, it doesn't belong in your mental space. It takes effort to build a mind that thinks clearly. You have to notice your patterns. You have to pause when the old thoughts show up. You have to choose again and again and again.
Every time you do that, you're telling your mind, I don't feed what doesn't serve me. You're training your brain to become more focused, more useful, and more aligned with who you're trying to become. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your peace is refuse to continue a thought. Stop in the middle of it and say, this doesn't help me, I don't need this right now. That's strength, that's awareness, that's leadership. Don't wait for your mind to become quiet on its own. Guide it. Take ownership of your thinking. Set boundaries around your attention the same way you set boundaries around your time. If a thought takes your energy but doesn't give you anything back, you don't owe it anything. You don't need to follow it to the end. You don't need to argue with it. You just need to stop giving it power. This is how you free up energy for what really matters, for your work, for your growth, for your goals, for your relationships, for your health, for your peace. When your mind is filled with useful thinking, you stop wasting energy on mental fights that never needed to happen. You move faster, you think sharper, you respond better, you live with more clarity and less chaos, and the results will show in how you talk, in how you act, in how you handle stress, in how you make decisions, because a focused mind leads to a focused life, and a focused life doesn't just happen, it's created, thought by thought, day by day, choice by choice. So ask yourself, right now, what kind of thoughts are you feeding today? Are they helping you build? Are they making things clearer? Are they helping you feel stronger, calmer, more focused? Or are they just keeping your mind busy with no return? You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need to stop spending energy on thinking that leads nowhere. You need to become someone who thinks with purpose, with direction, and with discipline. That's how your energy becomes your advantage, not your burden. That's how you build a mind that works with you, not against you. And that's how you begin to live a life built on clarity, not confusion.
Chapter 9. Catch the lies your mind tells in silence. Some of the most dangerous things you'll ever hear are the ones you never speak out loud. They don't come from other people. They don't show up in conversations. They arrive in silence, in moments when you're alone, when no one's watching, when nothing obvious seems wrong. These are the quiet lies your mind tells, the ones that feel just real enough to believe, but carry just enough weight to hold you back. And if you don't learn how to catch them, they'll become the story you live by. They'll guide your actions, shape your decisions, and limit your potential without ever raising their voice. The mind has a way of whispering things that sound like truth. It'll say, you're not ready, this won't work, you always mess things up, you don't deserve more. And because it says these things when you're tired, when you're uncertain, when you're not paying attention, you're more likely to believe them. Not because they're accurate, but because they've been repeated in the background for so long that they feel familiar. And what feels familiar often gets mistaken for what's true. You have to get better at recognizing these lies, not just the obvious ones, the subtle ones, the ones that dress up as logic, the ones that show up as doubt, the ones that seem harmless but slowly chip away at your confidence, the ones that sound like, let someone else do it, or you're too late to start now, or no one really cares what you're doing. These thoughts don't scream, they sit quietly in your mind, and if you don't confront them, they stay. Catching them takes self-awareness. It takes the ability to pause in the middle of your thinking and ask, where did that come from? Most of the time, these lies aren't even based on the present, they're leftovers from your past. Maybe someone once told you that you wouldn't amount to anything. Maybe you failed once and the memory stuck. Maybe you grew up believing that being small was safer than being seen. Those ideas turned into quiet thoughts, and now they speak from the inside, not with facts but with fear. Your mind is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? Are you filtering what's being said? Or are you just accepting everything that shows up? Because if you're not careful, your mind will lie to protect you. It'll lie to keep you from risking, from trying, from changing, and it won't do it with bad intentions. It does it because it's wired for survival, not success. It wants comfort, predictability, and familiarity. But those things don't build a meaningful life. They build repetition. They build safety at the cost of your potential. You have to make it a habit to challenge your inner voice, not because everything it says is wrong, but because not everything it says is right. When a thought shows up that tells you to pull back, hesitate, or stay small, ask it, what are you trying to protect me from? And then ask, is that actually a threat, or just discomfort?
you'll find that most of the time it's not danger, it's not failure, it's just something new, something unknown, something you haven't done before. Lies in silence don't need proof, they survive on emotion. That's why they're powerful, because they attach to how you feel in the moment. If you feel tired, they say you're not built for this. If you feel uncertain, they say you're not smart enough. If you feel behind, they say you'll never catch up. And if you're not watching closely, those feelings start to become beliefs, not because they're based on evidence, but because they've never been questioned. It's your job to interrupt that process, to say just because I feel this doesn't mean it's true, to say I've felt this before and still made progress, to say this thought doesn't align with who I'm becoming. These responses may seem simple, but they build a new habit, a habit of truth, a habit of clarity, a habit of fighting back against the noise. The people who grow the most are not the ones with the loudest confidence. They're the ones who learn to quiet the lies. They're the ones who know how to sit in silence and hear the doubt and still act anyway. They're the ones who stop waiting to feel perfect and start moving forward with the mindset that says, even if my thoughts tell me I can't, I'm still going to show up. You have to train your mind like a muscle. You don't do it once and expect it to stay strong. You do it every day, you challenge it, you strengthen it with new thinking, you stay alert to the moments when the lies creep back in. They don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they show up as hesitation, sometimes as procrastination, sometimes as the voice that says, take a break, not because you need rest, but because you're afraid of the next step. This kind of honesty with yourself isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, because it forces you to admit that you've been led by thoughts that aren't rooted in truth. It forces you to face the fact that some of the things you've believed about yourself have never been tested. They've only been repeated. And once you see that, you have a choice. Keep living the story you've been told, or write a new one. Your future depends on which thoughts you give weight to. If you keep building on silent lies, you'll keep ending up in the same place. Not because you lack talent, not because you're not capable, but because your foundation is made of doubts you never removed. That's how strong a thought can be. It can look small and quiet, but it can redirect your entire path if you let it. Start cleaning up the silent corners of your mind, the places where old beliefs are still hiding, the places where you still think you're not good enough, the parts of you that still believe people like you can't succeed. Catch those lies. Don't let them grow roots. Don't let them build momentum. Pull them out and replace them with something real, something that aligns with your effort, something that supports your purpose. Every time you catch a lie and replace it with a truth, you take back control. Every time you call out a thought that's not helping, you build strength. And over time, your mind begins to shift. It becomes a place that works with you, not against you. It becomes a source of clarity instead of confusion. And that's how real transformation begins, not from shouting over your thoughts, but from listening carefully to what's been said in silence, and choosing to no longer accept it as truth. Chapter 10. Keep repeating the mindset that matches your goals. Most people set goals, but they don't build the mindset to match them. They get clear about what they want to achieve, but their thinking stays the same. They still carry the same doubts, the same excuses, the same emotional habits that kept them stuck before. That's why change doesn't last. It's not because the goal is too big, it's because the mind hasn't caught up. If you want long-term progress, you need to train your thoughts to align with where you're going. And once you find the right mindset, you don't visit it once, you repeat it daily again and again until it becomes automatic. Success is not just about what you do, it's about how you think while you do it. If your actions are strong but your mindset is weak, you'll always find a way to pull back. You'll slow down. But if your mind is prepared, if your thinking is built around persistence, discipline and belief, then no matter what happens, you stay in the game, you keep showing up, you stay on track because your thoughts are wired to support the goal. This doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by motivation alone. It happens through repetition. Mindset is not something you read about once and suddenly master. It's something you reinforce. It's a pattern you rebuild over and over until your mind begins to think in a way that supports your direction. You train it like a skill. You feed it what it needs. You protect it from what weakens it. You keep it focused even when distractions are everywhere. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that mindset is a one-time decision. They choose to think positively for a few days. They set intentions on Monday, but by Friday, the old thoughts come back. The self-doubt, the hesitation, the negative loops, they all return, not because they're stronger, but because the new mindset wasn't repeated enough to take root. That's how the brain works. Whatever you repeat becomes normal, and if you don't repeat the mindset that matches your goals, your brain will return to what it knows, even if what it knows is what's been holding you back. You have to be intentional with your mental environment. Your goals require a certain level of thought. If your goal is to lead, then your thinking needs to be grounded in confidence and responsibility. If your goal is to grow, then your thinking needs to reflect patience and discipline. If your goal is to overcome, then your thoughts must be built on resilience and forward movement. Anything less, and you're working against yourself. You need to check your thinking every day and ask, does this match where I'm trying to go? If you catch yourself thinking like the old version of you, like the version that avoided effort, that waited for motivation, that made excuses, then stop and correct it. Don't let that mindset lead your actions. Don't let it drive your day. Because if you keep thinking like your past, you'll keep living in it. Consistency in mindset builds consistency in behavior. When you think clearly and repeatedly in alignment with your goal, you make better decisions, you use your time better, you handle pressure better, you stay focused because your mind is already set. It's not waiting for the right moment, it's already trained for it. And that kind of mental stability is what turns potential into progress. There will be days when the mindset slips. You'll feel tired, you'll feel discouraged, you'll fall into doubt. That's normal, but it's not the end. What matters is that you return to the mindset you know supports your goals. You catch yourself early, you realign, you remind yourself of what you believe in, not once, not just in a journal, but in how you speak, how you act, how you respond. That repetition is what builds strength. You can't afford to repeat thoughts that don't match your goals. You can't keep entertaining the idea that you're not capable or that success is for other people. You can't keep replaying the fear that things might go wrong. If those are the thoughts you're living in, those will be the results you get. The mind always finds a way to prove itself right, and if it believes something long enough, it will begin shaping your life around that belief, even if it's the exact opposite of what you want. So start feeding your mind what it needs to stay aligned. Tell yourself what's possible, not just when you feel strong, but especially when you don't. Speak in a way that reflects discipline and clarity. Remind yourself that setbacks are part of progress, not proof of failure. Practice thinking in a way that mirrors your goals, and keep doing it again and again until it becomes automatic. Mindset isn't about feeling good, it's about thinking effectively. Thinking in a way that keeps you moving, learning, adjusting, and growing. It's about building a mental framework that holds up under stress, one that doesn't collapse when things get hard, one that you can rely on even when motivation disappears. That kind of mindset is built in silence, in the moments when no one is watching, in the choices you make when it would be easier to give in the way you talk to yourself when things don't go as planned. It's built through discipline, repetition, and honesty. And once you build it, it becomes your anchor. It becomes the part of you that keeps going when everything else wants to quit. You're not going to wake up every day with the perfect attitude. You're not always going to feel like the best version of yourself. That's not the goal. The goal is to return to the mindset that keeps you grounded, the one that reminds you who you are and what you're capable of, the one that doesn't shift based on the mood of the day or the opinion of others, the one that's built on purpose, not pressure. Train your thoughts to work for you. Speak like someone who's going somewhere. Think like someone who's already decided. Act like someone whose inner world is aligned with their outer vision. That's not fake. That's preparation. That's how you build a mind that's not just filled with ideas, but filled with direction. You can't afford to be casual with your mindset. Not if you want something real. Not if you want progress that lasts. You have to get serious about what you think, about what you allow to repeat, because what repeats becomes a belief. And your beliefs become your habits, and your habits shape everything. So stop letting your old thoughts lead your new goals. Stop making room for doubt just because it feels familiar. Stop repeating thinking that doesn't match the life you're trying to build. Make a choice to create a new standard, and then keep repeating that standard until it becomes your default. That's how real change happens, not just by doing different things, but by thinking like someone who already believes the goal is possible. That belief must be trained, not wished for, and it's trained through repetition. Keep repeating the mindset that matches your goals, not once, not sometimes, every single day, until your thoughts, your actions, and your results all move in the same direction. And now you know the truth. You become what you think, not someday, not in theory. Every single day, your thoughts are shaping your actions, your habits, and your future. If you want to change your life, you have to take control of what you allow to stay in your mind. You have to choose thoughts that match the life you want, not the one you're trying to escape. If today opened your eyes, even a little, don't stop here. Go back, listen again, write things down, practice them, and come back tomorrow, ready to think better and do better. This isn't a one-time motivation. This is your new beginning. If this video helped you, there's more coming that will